Welcome to Jurassic Park.
I'm not even supposed to be here today.
I'm just a fucked up girl who's looking for my own peace of mind.
Welcome to the party, pal.
I'll be back.
I'll have what she's having.
Death has come to your little town, Sheriff. You can either ignore it, or you can help me to stop it.
All right, Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Hello, I'm your host, Jim McLean. Welcome back to another episode of More Than Pixels on a Screen, a spoilerific podcast brought to you by the Banter Flicks movie review website here in Belfast. As always, I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Adam Neeson.
What's happening?
Still no new catchphrase?
It's only week 3, Jim.
Week 3, come on, Adam, you've got to put the effort in.
Hold on, I'll try now.
Yeah, there we go. That's and for the first time on this new format of the podcast, we have the lovely local filmmaker, all-round nice guy, Brian Mulholland, and we're going to be talking about Film Devour.
Hello, Jim. Hi. Thanks for having me.
I have never heard Brian sound so upbeat in my life.
More energy than us.
More energy than us, indeed, dear listener. But yeah, we're going to be talking about Film Devour. We will have a general chat near the end about some of the movies we've been watching recently. Listeners, Brian is really excited. He wants to talk about Madam Web.
Miss as well.
You're excited about that film.
I thought we were talking movies.
Yeah, we're talking about movies, and you had a great time at that.
The popcorn was nice.
Okay. Is that your review?
And her jacket was quite pretty.
Okay.
Salted or sweet? Not the jacket.
Oh, sweet. Always sweet.
Oh, sweet.
Do you not mix it up?
No, I don't mix it up. I'm not one of those like Russian roulette popcorn eaters. No, I like to know what's going in my mouth, Jim. Thank you.
Misses.
And it better be sweet.
You not throw some Maltesers or anything in there?
Sometimes, special occasions, you know.
But Maltesers with sweet, it's too much, Brian. You'd want the Maltesers with salted.
No. Sweet and sweet.
Adam, where are you winning in this?
I'm not a Malteser man because they melt in your fingers too much. So I don't want to be a chocolatey boy. An M&M though, throw it in.
Now you're taking it to the next level.
With peanuts, of course.
Nope.
Not peanuts?
No peanuts.
No thanks.
I want to kill whoever's around me.
Consider it carry on.
No. You want? Yeah.
Just referenced Ace Ventura, and nobody was listening. But it's all okay. Yeah. So I think, since we have loads on this week, we'll move on. I know we can't call it anymore because, as Adam has said, somebody else has the general banter copyright here in Northern Ireland. So we'll move on. And Adam, it's time for your first jingle on this week's show as we talk about a movie news.
Movie news. That was a projector.
Yeah.
Did you like that?
I'm getting it. You're up in it. You're throwing in, sound effects and everything. You're like Michael Winslow from Police Academy.
What are you talking about, Willis?
Okay. So, movie news. One thing that caught my attention. There's loads of things. I know in the TV show this week, we talked very briefly about the fact we're allegedly getting an American Psycho remake. A modern reimagining. I don't really know if we need that. Didn't everything in the first American Psycho movie that needed to be said wasn't it said? And the less said about the sequel, all the better. I mean, I do love the book, and after all, that role was what earned Christian Bale Batman. So I don't know if we need a new version of that. But as we went in to record this afternoon, a bit of movie news got my attention, and it's involving Adam's big uncle Liam.
Yep. He actually contacted me saying,
I know where you are.
I've got a specific set of skills. One of them isn't being funny.
To be fair, he is pretty funny in
Extras
and Ted 2.
Oh, yeah. Well, if Bill Taylor was here, I'm sure Bill would throw in a reference to, is it A Million Ways to Die in the West?
Yeah.
He loves that film. I don't know if I love the film as much as Bill does.
There is one good part with Liam Neeson when he falls on his face and his arse falls out. They're like, Liam Neeson arse.
That's my uncle.
We've got the same cheeks.
Put that arse away, Uncle Liam. Well, Liam Neeson, I had heard this a while ago, and then I thought it had just disappeared, and it was just movie chat and nonsense talk. But Liam Neeson is lined up to play Detective Frank Drebin in a new version of Naked Gun, and Paramount have released. Now, I was talking about this on Q Radio, this morning just to drop that. And both the presenters looked at me to go, "What's Naked Gun?"
Wow.
And I was like, come on. Surely you know Naked Gun. You know, if you just want something that's unashamedly silly in the mold of Airplane, Naked Gun movies, all three, a near perfect cinematic trilogy. And the late, great Leslie Nielsen starred in that film. Wasn't it Police Squad that started out on TV? And then they kind of said, like, there's so much happening on screen with, like, you know, various people falling behind, and isn't there one where they're in a lab and someone closes the door and there's the live wires and they get electrocuted. So the real slapstick humour. They realised it was too small for the TV, so they moved it to the big screen, and the rest, as it says, history. But Liam Neeson is going to be taking over the badge as Frank Drebin. So are you excited to see your uncle? Because you've already said he's got a real knack for comedy.
I think it'll be good. No one would have thought that Leslie Nielsen, kind of said the same, would have been great, because he was just a dramatic actor before.
Yeah, do you notice isn't it weird when you see him in stuff like Forbidden Planet and he's being dead serious?
Yeah. When he's back in comic books.
Yeah. Or buying Funkos, like you.
Just wanted to let the audience know that I bought a new Joker Funko Pop. The first of, they only have one. Not
first of many.
So it begins.
So he's going to be like, he's going to walk out going, did I need to buy a Funko Pop? I'll just get another one for a wee bit of company.
I'll buy the Steelbook Funko Pop of the Joker.
Yes. So you think it could be... I actually think... Just interesting to see what way they're going to go with the Naked Gun movies. Are they going to make it that it's all this weirdness going around and Liam Neeson's going to be playing it dead straight? I don't know. Are you excited, Brian?
Yeah, I suppose so. Leslie Nielsen kind of made that role his own, really, didn't he? I'd be interested to see if they bring OJ back. Because,
no. I'm going to... actually, I'm just going to email them. No.
Well, then I'm not interested.
No, he's not coming back.
I want to know if Weird Al's coming back.
Weird Al's another one, yeah.
That would be good. Yeah, I am weirdly intrigued. It's more in the fact that I'm intrigued by this project, more so than anything. And I know when I think of Liam Neeson doing comedy, I always think of, isn't it the Skitting Extras? What he does with Ricky Gervais and Steve Merchant.
Life's too short.
Life's too short. Apologies. I always think of that. It's like, I'm a shopkeeper. I have AIDS.
Yeah.
It's like
I full-blown AIDS.
So I think if he's going to do it deadpan, it could work. I don't know. So that was my little bit of movie news I'm throwing out. Adam, our lovely guest, Brian, anything else? I know, Brian, you were getting really worked up about something.
Yeah, I was. There's a few images released yesterday, I believe, of the Crow reboot. The Crow, a movie that is very close to my heart. Mm-hmm. And they've remade it once again. This time with Bill Skarsgård. Mm-hmm. I quite like him as an actor, I must admit.
He's Pennywise, isn't he?
Yes, Pennywise. Yeah. He's great in John Wick 4, wasn't he? The bad guy? John Wick 4. So, I mean, it's good casting, but the the images don't fill me with confidence at all, you know.
Because this was another one.
And stuff.
Yeah.
And,
this was another one, just like the Naked Gun reboot. I had completely forgotten that was happening. Is the Crow reboot this year it's being released?
Yeah, I think so.
Or am I making that up?
June, yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it feels like no time.
But once again, it's somebody else playing an iconic character that is kind of someone else's role. You know, like you're saying Frank Drebin, Leslie Nielsen. This is basically, it's Brandon Lee's role, you know. And the thing about it, if you know the Crow universe, not to go in too deep about it, but there's other Crows, there's other stories that can be told. It doesn't have to be Eric Draven.
Yeah.
So to recast him and Eric Draven, and I mean, Jason Momoa was attached to this for ages, and Luke Evans, I think, and other people. It's been languishing.
Adam was attached for a while.
Well, Adam was attached for a while.
I was actually attached to when Nick Cave wrote a draft. That was me.
Right, that was going to be you.
That was going to be me. Yeah.
Yeah, and who are you going to come back to have your revenge on?
Joaquin Phoenix. Uncle Liam.
Uncle Liam's arse and Million Ways Down the West.
I don't know. I mean, Bill's got previous of stepping in on iconic roles. When you think of Tim Curry with Pennywise, he made that his own. Good actor. It's the fact that it's been retooled and shipped about for so long. I suppose in the same way like the Naked Gun movie.
Yeah.
Or the Naked Gun reboot. Because What's your guy from The Office? And he's in the Hangover movies. What's the actor?
Ed Helms.
Ed Helms was at one point going to be in the Naked Gun reboot. And I was like, okay, you're going to try and replicate what's been done before. So that's what's intriguing me about the Naked Gun. They said, with Liam Neeson, you might be maybe doing something very different. And as I say, I think he'd be great at that deadpan. With The Crow, I mean, there has been sequels. Wasn't there straight-to-DVD sequels? Were they cinematically or were they straight-to-DVD?
Well, Crow 2 was cinematic. It was directed by... he used to do movie drum. What do you call it?
Adam Neeson.
Yes, he directed the second Crow.
Yeah. But Iggy Pop and stuff was in that one, the second one. It was okay, but they got increasingly worse as they went along. And then there was the TV version with Mark Dacascos, which was better than a lot of the movies, but it was still Eric Draven, and it was still the Crow walking around solving crimes in daylight. Didn't make much sense, you know. The director of this one, Rupert Sanders, he done Ghost in the Shell, Snow White and the Huntsman. I think the best thing he done was
Kirsten Stewart.
Oh yeah. Do you remember he got his dick sucked in the car and they're all like, here, what are you up to?
Well, he done a 5 music video. Do you remember 5? Yeah.
Well, maybe I'm a bit too young.
Yeah, that's the best thing he's ever done to me. So, but here I'll go and see it probably, but I don't have much hope for it.
I don't know. We're going off on tangents. I think we need a little bell every time we go off on tangents, because there's always the talk like in Spider-Man, and I suppose even with Batman as well. Because I know, like in some later adaptations in the comic, other people have been the Caped Crusader, and you know we have Miles Morales with Spider-Man. Do you think it's always going to be a sense with The Crow? It's always going to be that character, just because producers will go, well, that's the version the majority of people know. So if you introduce and say, this could be a different story, I'm thinking this is literally a lightning bulb off the top of my head. In the same way, like they teased with the Candyman reboot 2 years ago, or was it last year that was out?
2021,
when it was like, there's all these different versions of Candyman. They've all anger over injustice, but then the whole film just got rid of that at the very end. It's like, by the way, we're just having a little cameo by Tony Todd.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right.
But I don't know, I literally just off the top of my head, do you think that's the case that's why you'll always see that character as the Crow?
It doesn't need to be, though.
Yeah.
There's other stories, there's other comic books. There's a great one about a Native American Indian. You know, call it Crow, Killers of the Crow Moon or something, and just set it, you know, I think from memory it's basically the same kind of story, you know, husband, kids, family get wiped out by Johnny Depp back. But yet, no, that to me is like you're setting it like Prey, Prey did with the Predator series. It wasn't, you know, we're trying.
And you're
to
having a
remake
sequel
Predator.
to Prey.
Yeah.
And there's talk of the whole kind of spin-off now within.
Well, I would want a samurai one. You know what I mean? You know, take my money.
Yeah.
But it's still Predator, but it's not, you know, a big muscly guy running through the jungle. It doesn't need to be as much as you want it to be. Jim, I could see the hunger in your eyes.
You could see it. I was getting a wee hot flush there just thinking about Arnie.
But
anyway.
yeah, so we'll see.
Anyway, Adam, I know before we move on to the first feature on the new format for the pod that the nation is talking about, do you have any other movie news that's caught your attention?
Just this quick thing that Ray Winston was...
Is it a thing you just Googled?
Yeah. Ray Winston was talking about working on Black Widow, and he says that working for like big studio movies are soul destroying, and the producers of Black Widow told him to tone down his performance, which he said felt like a real kick in the balls.
That performance was toned down.
Was it a performance?
Yeah, but he still got his paycheck.
Yeah, like...
And the same guy will probably be like, fucking the MCU, they'll come back and go, do you want to reprise your role for like... Well, I suppose he can't really. Well, there's ways and means. Do you want to reprise your role somehow? Or do you want to play a different role? Yeah, sure, no bother. How much? Yeah, you've done it again, Howard.
I don't know. I think, you know, with the Fantastic Four casting, and if the rumours are true from like the last year or whatever, they've picked the 5th choice for every single character, like the actors. Nobody wanted to do it. People are jumping.
Really? I think casting looks great. There you go. Who turned it down?
Adam Driver turned it down for ages. Okay. There was a load of people just turned it down, didn't want anything to do with it.
I heard you turned it down.
I did. I was actually going to play Herbie the robot. Had to turn it down. Thunderbolts, people dropping out left, right and centre because of scheduling conflicts. Sure.
Because of paychecks.
Because like Stephen Yeun or whatever, clearly if you see them at like the Golden Globes, didn't train a day to look anything like the Sentry and just went, no, I can't do it. Oh, sorry.
I'll start training tomorrow.
Yeah. So maybe people are jumping ship. Superman starts filming today. And there's a cast picture of that we talked about last week. And
yeah, Adam got very excited about that cast picture.
Lois Lane, what's happened? But maybe James Gunn is going to start pulling people in. Seems like he might pull in Batista for something. I keep saying Batista should play Perry White. I don't want Batista's fucking being or a villain anymore. Just because Batista's he's such a sweet guy.
Well, he's a great actor as well. I think it's underrated. Just how good an actor he is.
Imagine he was Pa Kent. Just thinking that. Because he's old enough to play.
Dog. Just
Crypto,
Superdog.
yeah. Crypto. Yes, get a motion capture going, yeah.
That's what we want anyway. We're going to start this campaign, and I know our listeners will get at least one person agreeing with us. So please do. Start that campaign.
Starts with one.
Starts with one. And talking about one person in particular, is Cilla Black. So Adam, I think it's time...
Welcome back to Back in Black, the extensive series all about the Duchess of the Merseyside. This week, Jim, I've brought you another fun...
Jim and Brian.
Well, Jim and Brian, but you've been here. Brian, this is your first time experiencing Back in Black, and you're going to leave this studio fully informed about the ginger Queen of Liverpool. So, did you know that she was once on Who Do You Think You Are? The show where they go through your family history. And it turned out that she, her great-great-grandfather was actually in World War I. And before that, her great-great-great-grandfather was actually like a servant to Richard IV. And before that, her great-great-grandfather, was actually a servant to Elizabeth I. And before that, her great-great-great-great-grandfather was actually a servant to George III. And they thought that's such a really interesting history that she has all of these people that were involved in such historical events through time. But they thought they'd make it into like a sitcom because it'd be a bit less dry. So they were going to call it Cilla Blackadder. Come back next week for more Cilla Black facts. Thanks, Jim.
That's what people are here for. That's, as I say, it's one half of the features in this pod that the nation, and I say that the nation, I don't know which nation, is talking about. So normally on the show, we, at this point, talk about a specific movie we've watched, either something that's new, just out in the cinemas. I know as this episode is going out, June Part 2 is just at cinemas, but none of us have seen it yet. I'm actually, as we record tonight, I'm going to see June Part 1 because I'm finally going to see it in the big screen because over lockdown and various reasons, always held out for seeing it on the IMAX screen. Oh yeah, they'll show it. And then I missed it. And then recently they brought it back and had it in the IMAX in Cineworld. Other cinemas are, of course, are available, but not other IMAXs in Northern Ireland anyway, and missed it. So I'm finally getting to see that on the big screen. Watched June Part 1 a couple of times, then tomorrow night, by the time this pod's out, I will have seen June Part 2. So Adam, you and I, and possibly another guest, might be talking about that. Well, I say might. We will be talking about that on next week's show. But this week, because Adam and I were down at Film Devour 34, it's not 34 years of age, Brian.
No, it's 34 events.
It's just 34 events. But just very quickly, how long has Devour now been a part of your life?
Wow. About 13 years, I think. 13, 14 years.
So I know we've had you on the pod a couple of times.
Yeah.
For anyone who's missed those previous interviews, and I know we were talking on the TV show about it as well. I know you're the face. What a beautiful face of Film Devour it is. Well, technically you're not the face.
No, thankfully not.
Technically you're not the face. You're the person that stands up at the start, introduces the films, then at the end gives out the awards. But a beautiful face nonetheless. But for anyone who's missed us talking about Devour, because we've had you on, as I said, the TV show, we've had you on the pod before as well, in the various guises. Tell our listeners a little bit about the Film Devour Short Film Festival.
Okay, so Film Devour, 14 years old, 34 events. Basically, was born out of necessity about 13 years ago when I was making films and other people were making films. You were maybe putting them on YouTube, and that was it. Your friends and family were watching them, and you never really got the chance to watch them with an audience, which I think is integral to make sure if the film works or not. So taking the kind of idea of other friends I knew in bands, they couldn't get gigs, so they would have a showcase event where them and other bands would all get together and do like the local scene band type thing. And can we do that with films? So we tried it in the Safe House Art Gallery. The first one, we had 30 seats and about 60 people showed up. And I'm like, okay, there's something in this. And then we went to its home that it is now, a Black Box, and steadily began to sell out the Black Box continuously. So much so that it was more than once a year, more than twice a year, more than three a year. So the most we've done is four a year when it was really, really regular. But obviously, COVID and pandemic and all that, and that's knocked it on the head for a bit. But yeah, it's just basically, it's a showcase event. There is awards, but as I always say to any filmmaker, more eyes have seen your films now because it's been shown at Devour. You've seen it with an audience. If it's a comedy and they didn't laugh, that should tell you something. Or
it's a long 15 minutes.
Yes, you got everything. Good reminder. The films are no longer than 15 minutes, and some, to be honest, some 10-minute films will feel like 30, and some 15-minute films will feel like 5. You know, it just depends. But different levels of technique and the lives of the filmmakers and stuff. So I'm proud of it. It's hard work, but it seems to be still a necessity.
Well, without sounding sycophantic, you should be proud of it. And how long, the fact that Film Devour 34, it's still there, shows A, there's a demand, and B, well, there's a demand for Film Devour, and it's a great opportunity. You've kind of touched on it there in the fact that it's also a great networking opportunity for filmmakers, no matter where they are in their journey, to kind of come across, see what else is out there, meet, a composer, a DOP. They might meet them at these events. And I'm nearly certain, I remember anecdotally from Jim McMorrow, I think he said he met a DOP for one of his shorts at Devour. And I've been going for a while, hadn't been, obviously, as you mentioned, there's the pandemic. I know there was a virtual Devour, I think a one and done,
we done one. It was somewhat successful, but it wasn't the same vibe, obviously people are watching it online. So
it felt strange watching at home.
Yeah.
Because I was kind of sitting there just in my underpants, just watching it.
I was sitting there in my underpants as well. I only dressed from the waist up because it would have been on camera later, but
So this is, if I'm right, this is the event that just happened, is the second since the return?
Yes.
Since the second since the pandemic.
Yes, and it was people. Basically, I didn't know if I had time or the energy or whatever you want or insecurities and stuff that I had about doing it again. But people constantly were asking. There wouldn't be a month go by where there wasn't an email going, "Is Devour coming back? Is Devour coming back?" And I asked around, "Do people want it back?" And then I convinced myself, let's do one and see if it's still viable. And yeah, it was. So here we go. Yeah. 35 coming in summer probably.
So as I say, I know we'll come back to that at the end. So Adam, you were down as well. I mean, Brian and I have just kind of completely ignored you now for the conversation. I'll throw it and let you enter into our little three-way here.
Let's just do a big listen.
And chat about Devour as well. So was that your first time down at Devour?
No, I'd been a couple of months ago as well, but that was my first time at Devour post-pandemic and stuff. And it's interesting to see, obviously you see some of the same faces, but from the first to the second, completely new people. And it's obviously good word of mouth and good insight into, Belfast is full of interesting filmmakers, and the qualities of the movies in the first event I went to and this event last week, there's such a high quality, even down to like the posters for each film. I mean, there's nothing skimped. I know, I'm a filmmaker myself, Jim, don't know if you know.
Award-winning filmmaker.
And, I do a lot of stuff myself because coming out of the pandemic, it was all just the social bubble and that's all I had. So, it is inspiring going to events like that and seeing people come together to, make things and talk, and it's just, even if you're not a filmmaker, even if you're just into film, it's interesting just to go to talk about film with like-minded people.
Yeah,
100%.
At this point, I feel we've got through the conversation. Do you want to throw out references to, or talk a little bit about? So there's 2 winners at each Devour.
Yes.
There's the audience choice, which is the likes of the plebs, like myself, Adam. And then there's the director's choice for the bourgeoisie, the filmmakers there amongst us. So do you want to tell us a little about the winners at Film Devour 34?
Yeah, so obviously 2 awards. Really quickly, it was always just 1 award, audience choice, and maybe we'd on a second place, and it was just democracy, basically, the votes. But it became quite apparent that if you had a film with 10 cast members and they all brought someone, you probably had a good chance of winning. So it was actually David Fleming who Taxi Evening for us had an idea, what about asking all the directors for their vote, and they can't vote on their own. So that's why Director's Choice Award exists as well. So yeah, so the 2 awards on the night, the Director's Choice Award was won by Aidan Largy for Monochrome, and Aidan's quite I always use him as a barometer for Devour because he submitted to the first ever one. So he must have submitted. I must ask him. It's definitely in the double figures of films he submitted. But he hasn't submitted in a few years because he's kind of on professional sets now. He's directing stuff for BBC and whatnot. So this was a wee passion piece he done when he had a break in that recently, and there you go. It's up on screen, and I think the rest of the directors really appreciated how far he's come. You know, the Audience Choice Award was a film called Coffin Fit, directed by Thomas McKeown and starring a familiar local actress, Kathy Brannan Bradley, who's stunning in it. So, and I think people really resonated with that because of the story, but also the performances. And again, you're talking about posters. That's another one. When the poster comes into Devour, you're like, "Oh, this looks good." I'm not sure who designed it and what, or whether, because I, like you, Adam, I kind of, when I done films, everything I done as much as I could myself, and then your press packs was what you could kind of do yourself too. But I think there's a lot more people working with a lot more people who are specialised in certain things. The poster's great, but the movie was fantastic as well, and it got a good reception on the night. Because
funny, I always remember you mentioning Aidan Largy, and I've known, like you've known Aidan much longer than I have, and probably much better than I do. I remember one of the early Devours I went to, and I can't remember which one it was. There was it was a low budget shot, like kind of mafia crime drama. But it was, from memory, shot at a school. And I was talking with Aidan afterwards, and I kind of said, I didn't mind all of them. And I'm not going to name filmmakers because I can't remember, and it's not fair to call out people. But I kind of, that just was a real gripe for me because it was all shot here, but they were doing American accents and stuff. And I was ready to rip into, and Aidan turned to me and said, no, because he didn't know. Like, whatever age those filmmakers were, those would be the type of films I was making at that age. Yep. And you can see, you learn from your mistakes and you progress. So kind of just on that note, one thing I did notice, there was 13 shorts at this event. One thing I did notice is it says the amount of this time that funding, there seems to be more shorts on whether it's through, I don't know if I noticed any NI screen, but the Ulster Council there seems to be funding for projects. I don't know if that's anecdotally from me off the top of my head. I remember some of the earlier Devours, it was just literally people off the back, I have an idea, this is what I want to do, and going off and shooting. Yeah. And maybe their second or third project maybe would be funded. I don't know, anecdotally, I think, seem to be? Everything's improving. People are getting funded. Arts Council, off the top of my head, Cinemagic was one. There was no Northern Ireland screen this time, but the previous one, I think there was 2 or 3. But I think that may be because of the break we had. One of the rules is usually a 12 or 1 year calendar month, has to be made or produced 1 year calendar month. But we extended that obviously because we were away for 3 years or so. So I think a lot of those films are filtering through. I quite like that something funded by Northern Ireland Screen will sit right beside something that people have done, like Beat the Clock, for example, the last movie, that you can tell that was, I'll get my mates involved and we'll film it at home, and it's great, it's funny, it's a comedy, and that deserves to be up there as much as anything else. So but
But also, everyone's getting better.
Yeah.
Everyone is getting better. And the over-the-counter equipment you can get and stuff is a lot better. So, but yeah, I would agree with you that it's good that funded stuff lives along. People's first movies should be up there, because otherwise, how do you learn? You know, if you do a comedy and it goes up there and no one laughs, okay, the next one's got to be better. If you have a real passion for it, you know, I take confidence in it. People keep coming back. I do think about some people that don't anymore, and and maybe it just wasn't for them. But
your cards are marked.
The audience will let you know.
Brian's got a list. I know we've mentioned there's 13. I had a few apologies to any of the filmmakers listening. I don't have the names in front of me, but I know Chris Heath's documentary about
Jimmy's Bench. Yeah,
Jimmy's Bench. I thought was fab,
yeah.
And I mean that's great.
Real heart.
There's things you're seeing. I know in the last couple of Devours I went pre-pandemic, I started to see such a variation in what people were creating in the stories that they want to put up. You had documentaries. I remember one of the last ones going to, there was an animated.
There was three animated ones in the last one, I think, and both winners were animated movies.
Yeah,
which is weird. But none this time. Unfortunately, my son couldn't watch any of the movies this time because the last Devour, I showed him the 3 animations, so he thought, well, that's all animations I want to go, you know. But none this time, and unfortunately, no female film directors this time, which is I don't know why. You can get into it. It's another conversation, but I'm always a wee bit disappointed when there isn't, because it's all about different voices, different stories, different voices. So thankfully there was a few written by female filmmakers, but no female directors, and I think that hopefully that changes soon.
Yeah, as someone who also runs the Dark Hedges short film, Dark Hedges Film Festival, and we have the short film competition strand within that program, within that festival. I know we do an award specifically for female filmmakers, and sometimes, I mean, you do get disappointed even with that, the number that you see compared to, and it's as you say, it's a conversation probably for another day about gender politics and creating access and just a history and legacy. That change is going to happen, but it's not going to happen overnight. I know I have a little show reel as we try to make Brian cry of some people saying some lovely things about Devour from the night when we were down interviewing, because we did a little feature, we did a little showcase for the TV show, which just went out on last week's show. Adam, I know I mentioned Jimmy's Bench. Because you and I both liked one of the filmmakers I know we're going to be speaking to, Will McConnell, 3 Wishes. I know that was one you liked as well. Yeah,
I really enjoyed 3 Wishes. I thought it was, it was a nice slice of life of teenagers now in 2023, 2024. I was actually wanted to ask Brian, since Film Devour 1 up to 34 now, and since times have changed, and Belfast has changed as a city and a culture, have you seen themes of the movies change over the last 20 or 34 events, especially in terms of obviously it's because it's Belfast, Northern Ireland, you probably had a lot of ones about the Troubles. And
you didn't say it right, mate. It's the Troubles.
The Troubles. It's like kicked in the balls. But even Flags and Emblems, which was at this event, it was about the Catholic Protestant divide, but with a comedy twist. Yeah. So have you felt like over the years things have not lightened up, but the more that the directors are getting younger and younger, obviously they have their own views on their own local areas.
100%. And Jim touched on it earlier. A lot of the early Devours was Tarantino ripoffs, Scorsese ripoffs, people in black ties, American accents, and stuff like that. But yes, the Troubles end of things, that there was some of them, less and less, and it's rare, and we only really get it when it's stuff like Flags and Emblems, when it's poking fun at that, But yeah, no, the stories have evolved. I think. I don't think the audience. I'm not going to say Devour is the audience for everything, but if you take Devour as a microcosm, I don't think the audience appreciates that stuff anymore. It's done and we're dusted. We'll move on. And as you say, like a lot of kids, I remember, I think it was the last Devour before the pandemic, looking out at the audience, and I didn't see many familiar faces. I'm like, what? Just a weird way. And the filmmakers coming up, because if you remember, Jim, I used to get them to sign the posters. they were kids, like kids, and I'm like, oh my God, I have like 20 years on a lot of these. They were students, and I'm like, and I kind of went, where is all the familiar faces that for me, you know, it was nice when they turn up. But then I went, oh my goodness, that's amazing. That's like a different generation.
Because funny you mentioned that. I might get his name right. Isn't it Thomas Buchanan? Had a short, like a proof of concept, like a trailer.
Thomas McQuillan.
Thomas McQuillan. Apologies, Thomas. And I remember meeting Thomas many years ago at an event at the QFT. I forget what their young film or their young cinema club at the QFT was called. Apologies. It's went down in my head. And he was the apologies, Thomas. Little kid.
Yeah. And
now seeing him very briefly on Monday night at the Black Box, he's a adult.
Yeah.
It's like, how the fuck did that happen?
Yeah.
And it's
and still making movies, still telling
making
movies,
still passionate about it. And again, you can see that he has that, as we've mentioned, the passion, but also you can see he's improving along the way as well.
Yeah,
it's great to see filmmakers like that.
Yeah,
and it's scary to think, as you've mentioned, they're adults now.
Yeah,
they were little ones, and there'll be people coming behind them. So it's great.
That's a good thing, 100%.
Because people have different stories to tell. Now, this is the point where I've dubbed this "Make Brian Cry," but maybe he won't. Maybe he'll just be like, bastards should have said more. So, as we said, we were down recording for the TV show, our little Film Devour showcase. I don't know at this stage what it looks like, so apologies in advance, Brian. But as part of that, we asked some of the filmmakers, and I'll give the names at the end. It's a small pool. Filmmakers and actors, I should clarify, of the importance of an event like Film Devour.
There's so many great film nights in Belfast nowadays. Film Devour was the very, very original that I remember coming to when I was a film student at Queen's. Now there's lots of really, really great opportunities to show short film work in Belfast, which is really, really exciting. But Film Devour is the original and the best. Without an audience, a filmmaker is just somebody sitting in the room all alone with nobody to show a film to. So it's so crucial and so wonderful to be able to show a film in public to strangers and to film lovers, and just to hear the reaction in the room, to hear laughter or gasps. It just brings the film alive. And to be a filmmaker here tonight showing the film is a great honour, because I'm super nervous, but super excited to see how the audience will react to the film.
I love coming here. I mean, I come here even if I'm not in anything. It's just to meet everybody, just to stay in the community, to support the community, and big each other up, because that's what you need to do. You need to big each other up and go, yeah, you can do that. Get out and do more. It's such an important thing that Brian and everybody here are doing for us.
Film Devour is so important, especially for, I'd say, younger filmmakers starting out, and you get eyes on your film and you get audience reaction. You can see echoes in the room. You get to talk to other filmmakers and network, and it might lead your next project. And having a space in the centre of Belfast where people can come, see your film, get your name out there, and you can get chatting to everybody. It's an invaluable networking opportunity that doesn't feel like networking. So Brian and the whole team that he has here put on such a good night for filmmakers, and encourage any young filmmakers or just any filmmakers at all, if you want to come somewhere in Belfast and meet other filmmakers and see your thing on the screen, I'd say Devour is, try and get into it, because it's so different than when you see it on your laptop.
I've always said to kind of anyone who's been here, Devour's been my film school, because you've to, it gives you a deadline. You have to make a film every kind of 3 or 4 months, and it was brilliant. And you get to watch it with an audience, and I think that taught me a lot. Not just putting it on YouTube and you get a little bit of response. Seeing a room with people will make you cut scenes and cut moments, and like if I'm in the edit now, I can think about the audience at Devour, and it's been a brilliant training school. But Brian, I have to say, Brian kind of gave us a platform and put our films up there when a lot of people weren't doing that. And it's kind of lovely to know that like local film always has a home here, and I think that's really important. I don't think Brian gets the credit that he deserves for that, and I'm very, very grateful to him and Devour.
So there you go, Brian.
That was lovely.
I'm not even crying at all.
Adam held my hand through that.
Actually, listeners, I'm going to fill you in. Actually, Brian said just before we came back to the studio, he said, "Is that all I've got to say? Is that all I've got to say about me?" I will say this. I mean, in all those interviews, it was Will McConnell, Kathy Brennan-Bradley, John Monaghan, who had the first short of the night.
Owner of a Lonely Heart.
Yeah, Will McConnell was the director
Three
of
Wishes.
Three Wishes, and Aidan Largy, as we've mentioned, Monochrome, and Kathy Brennan-Bradley was in Coffin Fit, was the lead in that. But a couple of things. Of course, we've all touched on the importance of the audience, the importance of being able to showcase it in front of strangers, but key thing, team. So we know we've got your lovely self in here. This is your opportunity. Big up your Film Devour team.
Okay, well, there's been many over the years, but at the moment, the core team is David Fleming, who tax the evening, make sure the film's all run on time, and people don't realise sometimes he's sound mixing at the same time, because a lot of films some are louder than others, so that goes without saying. Roy, who does the door, and basically he's the money man, and not a sugar daddy type way, just he takes people's money at the door.
Hello, sugar daddy if you want.
He can be, yeah. He would love that, actually.
Roy can be my sugar daddy.
And
I'm a Splenda daddy. He's a sugar daddy.
Okay,
yeah.
There we go.
Splenda daddy, it's all the appearances of sugar but none of the substance.
Beautiful. And then, of course, there's my lovely wife, Corinne, who has basically came on board as kind of how I met her, really, through Devour about 6-7 years ago, maybe more. Could be off the top of my head. But yeah, she keeps everything running smoothly. Unfortunately, couldn't make this one, but we'll be at the next one. I'm sure.
And you've got Corey as well, who's helping you with the animated short.
Corey's helped me with the feedback, yes. And the face of Devour is not me. It's the lovely Claire Carswell, who I worked with in the cinema years ago, and decided that she would be good on a movie poster for a movie night, and still is. God bless her.
The rest is history. So I know we've talked a lot about Devour, and I mean, I could talk a lot longer about the festival, but I know we're going to move on. But just before we do, to talk generally about what we've been watching at Devour, at the Black Box, I got a chance to catch up with Richard Davies, formerly from this parish, used to be in the original trio, myself, Matthew Collins, when we host just known as the Banterflix podcast, and Ricky D has moved on to other projects. Of course, we're still friends, we haven't fallen out. I miss you, Richard. But Ricky D was talking about the event that he co-runs with Will McConnell, who we've already mentioned, one of the filmmakers, The Short Take. And that's a regular event that's happening at the Strand Arts Centre. It's happening on the 9th of March. And here's Richard to talk about that event.
This is The Short Take, is a regular short film event. This will be the third one. It happens at the Strand Arts Centre. And the next one is on Saturday, the 9th of March at 8 p.m. It came out of basically love of short films and wanting to develop film culture a bit more and putting our regular event in the film calendar alongside, the likes of the Film Festival and Film Devour. So basically myself, Richard Davies, and Will McConnell started it, and we did one with Ryan Lennon last year, and then another one with Lisa Keogh of Farset Films as part of the 2023 Belfast Film Festival. So the next one is with Aislinn Clark. Aislinn is the director of The Devil's Doorway, which is a found footage horror film that was released by IFC Films on their IFC Midnight label. She's also the screenwriter of Dinion, which is an Irish language mystery thriller that was produced by Double Band and released in 2021. It's currently on BBC iPlayer. It's definitely worth watching. And Aislinn is now in post-production on her next feature film, which is called Free Waka, which is another Irish language film. And basically, the night is going through her career. It's an opportunity to see some of her short films that really, unless you saw them at the time, are kind of hard to see now. Like short films, part of the reason we want to do this night is they go to film festivals and then they can disappear. And it's nice to see them all screened together in context and see like a director kind of progress. I think that's what we want for the film industry here. Like, I'd love to see someone, put together their own very identifiable body of work, like the likes of the Coen brothers, Wes Anderson, filmmakers like that have a real stamp. That would be something, I think, just brilliant for the industry here. So basically, it's a chance to see Aislinn's shorts, and she'll be there, and she'll be chatting with Will, and we'll take some questions from the audience as well. So it's a chance for people to see her films. It's a chance for filmmakers to kind of see and hear about her career and how she's navigated it. So it can be useful from that point of view as well. So yeah, that's the short take. Saturday, 9th of March, 8 p.m. at Strand Arts Centre Cinema. Thanks very much.
So that's Richard talking about the short take. As he said, it's going to be happening at the 9th of March on the Strand Arts Centre. Great event, and great filmmaker Aisling Clarke to look back at her impressive back catalogue. And I think with that, we shall move on to just generally what we've been watching. So Adam, you're up.
Could be the cinema or the small screen. It's what you've been watching.
No, that was quite similar to last week, so I think you've settled on that one.
Jim, I've only got so much of an imagination.
There's only so much one man can come up with. So this is the point where we open it up generally to what we've been watching, old or new. This is the point now, Brian. I don't know how many movies you consume week to week.
Not as many as I'd like to, but yeah.
This is the key point.
Yeah.
So I've watched maybe about 4. One of those has been in the cinema. This is the point where I turn around to Adam and say, Adam, how many movies have you watched since we last recorded?
Well, I watched 6 in one day, so really, I can throw out a lot.
Trailers or movies?
Just movies.
Just movies.
We'll just run through and you can stop me if anything piques your interest. The Alan Partridge movie, one of my favorites. Alpha Papa. The Zone of Interest, finally seen.
I've seen that.
Fantastic film.
Haunt Your Dreams.
Interesting.
Yeah. Property reels, like resale on that place. Probably not grip.
No.
Lovely house though.
You wouldn't want to see it rocking up in Airbnb if you've seen that. I wouldn't be taken up on that offer.
No.
Lovely conservatory, bit of a smell.
Wow.
Yeah, you went there, Adam Neeson. I think we very, very quickly or briefly talked about this on the first episode of the new pod, and I said that it's the sound. I mean, rightfully so, it won the BAFTAs. I know we're about a week or so, less than a week from the Oscars. I think Oppenheimer is the favourite in that category. I could see The Zone of Interest maybe pipping it to the post because the sound design's amazing. Because you don't often, people always think, will a film stay in your mind after you've watched it? And isn't it Rupert Huyss, the name of the SS commander that moves his family there? The sound design, the sounds. I think I said on the pod at the time, I watched it alongside Joe McElroy, and I came home, and as I was sitting in the car, I could hear the sounds in the film, and I had to go home and watch a Muppets movie just to cheer myself up.
I think the sound is the movie I thought I was going to watch. Which is a bit of a critique, but I'm like, oh, okay. So it was jarring and impressive at the same time. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
And I, when it ended, I'm like, did I like that movie or not? I haven't stopped thinking about it in 2 days.
Haven't stopped thought. I still am thinking about it. It's a hard film to say I like in that sense of the subject matter.
Yes.
But I have so much respect for Jonathan Glazer and what he's done,
100%.
how he's done it. I mean, I was listening to him being interviewed, I think, on the Take with Kermode and Mayo, and he was kind of talking about how he wanted to do. And sometimes I can feel myself going, oh, when he's talking about wanting to film in natural light. That's why you have, isn't it, the heat cameras at night in the certain sequences with the girl. And at first that feels like it's a dream sequence because you've got that great score, that weird, bizarre score that feels like it should be an Under the Skin.
Yeah.
That kind of makes you feel it just makes it feel surreal. And at the same time, we have a father telling his daughter a fairy tale. But then you come to realize, without going to spoilers, what's happening in those sequences. I like Brian said, I seen it 3 weeks ago, and I'm still thinking about it. Do I like it? I come back to that point. consider it's the same way. It's like where I have respect for Son of Saul, where those are films I think are amazing. People should see them. I don't necessarily see I'm going to turn around to my lovely wife some evening and go, Joe, we should watch tonight.
Yeah.
The Zone of Interest.
Yeah.
I don't know, but more importantly, you've just seen it. What do you think?
It's definitely an experience. Like you were saying, that you haven't forgot about it. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but the shots towards the end, that kind of, flash forward to the carnage of everything that happened. It's a real, since you don't see inside of Auschwitz the whole time, once you see what this monster has, done and is proud of doing, it really fucking hits you hard.
100%.
And like I've never been to Auschwitz, I've never been, over there, but I think, not that I was watching the movie being like, I need to go there, but I never saw the appeal of going there. I always thought it'd be too sad, but I think if I was to go there now, I would have a lot more, not insight, but, I don't even want to be like, I will be more sympathetic. Obviously, I'll be sympathetic, but knowing the story, because I don't watch a lot of World War II movies. It is a bit too heavy for me sometimes. I just watch this because I'm a big Jonathan Glazer fan. But I think I loved it.
Yeah, but like Jim said, would you put it on again? Would you go home tonight and put it on again?
I don't know. It's one of those things.
Would it be one of your next 6 movies again, you know what I mean? Or
like, how many times would you watch Schindler's List?
Yeah, true.
Do you know what I mean? They are just
like Son of Saul. I mean, I've seen Son of Saul once, seen it on 35mm. Truthfully, I just don't think I could go through it again.
Or what was the Herzog documentary? Was it Ghost in the Mist or something like that? Or something that he done basically a Holocaust
the one you're talking about.
Documentary, and there's that slow pan away from I think it's the Pale of Shoes or the Pale of Hair, and it just keeps going and going and going, and you're forced to sit there and clock up the numbers in your head, and it's just heartbreaking,
Yeah, because I think I said on the previous pod when we talked about the Zone of Interest, that sequence you're alluding to, Adam, I actually think as powerful as that moment in Schindler's List was with Spielberg's film where survivors and families of relatives bring stones to Schindler's grave, I think the sequence in Zone of Interest is so much more powerful.
Yeah.
Because it just takes you completely by surprise. I didn't know anything about it. That's why I'm not spoiling it. Yeah. I know you've kind of alluded to a flash forward, but it's a very impressive thing, very simple thing to do. I think it's a fantastic film, but I don't know if I'll like it. Is that way in that sense. I respect all the technical aspects and how it's been shot. I know the
10 camera thing and stuff.
Yeah, I know the filmmaker himself said his own father told him not to make the film.
Yeah. Well, Spielberg talks about that as well. He didn't know whether to make Schindler's List or not. And
I thought you were going to say he didn't know if he wanted to make Jurassic World Part 2.
Well,
Jurassic Park, Lost World, I should say. Sorry. So, Adam, what's else on your list before Brad and I throw out our 2 cents?
Michael Mann's Black Hat, because it recently came out in 4K. Jonathan Glazer's Sexy Beast, because I wanted more glaze. A movie I've discovered a long time ago that the year of 1997 might be the best year in cinema.
Oh, wow.
Is that Titanic? The year Titanic and all came out? Or was that 98?
That was 98.
Okay, apologies.
I think we should do a pod just on 97 movies.
Okay.
Because...
Dress what we were wearing back then.
Like the top 97
baby
movies
bonnet
of 1987.
That's a great idea. But it's like, not like Oscar winners, but it's like Con Air. Those movies that you're like, fucking yes. A lot of them. I found Breakdown with Kurt Russell.
Oh, what a movie.
See?
What a movie.
Never heard of it. Never heard about anybody talking about it. Watched it. Banger.
Oh, it's a class movie.
After that...
I want that to go on the poster if they re-release it. Adam Neeson, Banderflex, banger.
After that, we had the Card Counter, the Oscar Isaac movie from 2 years ago. And then I started my big movie day with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Deep Fear, which is a new shark movie on Netflix. Dog shit. Cat Person that came out last year, starring Greg from Succession. Dog shit. Tragedy Girls, which I fucking loved. Really good movie on Shudder. The First Wives Club. I wanted some Bette Midler. After that, I ended up with Famp.
Oh.
Which I said last week.
Grace Jones, yeah.
Grace Jones. I said Grace Kelly last week, so Grace Jones. And then after that, the missus wanted to watch Upgraded on Amazon. Dog shit. And then I reviewed a movie for the Fright Club. Plug. Can't say what it is yet because it's not out yet. And then last night I watched the Suicide Squad, the James Gunn one, because
It's class.
couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
Good film. I like it. That's a lot of films.
Yeah.
Well
I mean,
done.
I've watched a few this week because actually when I was editing the last pod, because we talked briefly, we were talking about Blade Runner, and I then started to talk about Prometheus, and it threatened to veer into a Prometheus pod. As I was editing, I said, I'm going to put Prometheus on.
I think Prometheus is a great film.
Yeah.
I genuinely think it's so underrated, and I think people get needlessly annoyed about the fact that Charlize Theron doesn't turn left or right.
The size of the thing that's fallen on her.
Yeah, I
Would
also
not matter,
think
in my opinion.
I also think in the sheer bit of panic.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still have niggles with it, and it does feel like a film. There is points where, and I know there's a lot of deleted scenes from it. I think it's a film that definitely had, we'll try this, and reshoots and changes to the script. Because you see like all the sequences of the engineers all being piled up, and it hints that the aliens, the xenomorphs, have already been a thing. And I enjoyed it. And then I said, you know what? I'm going to put on Alien Covenant. And Alien Covenant is another film I think gets kicked around by a lot of people. Again, it is flawed. But maybe it's just because I love Michael Fassbender.
Yeah, I think Covenant is trying to appease the people who critiqued Prometheus.
I think it's
would
not,
make it a wee bit more alien.
I don't think it's Ridley. So I think that pressure's coming from producers.
100%. But the same way with the Last Jedi. Sorry, Last Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
That it was like, oh my goodness, some people didn't like the Last Jedi. Or was it the last
Rise of Skywalker?
Rise of Skywalker. So let's undo some of the stuff that they'd done in the previous movie, and it's studio absolutely, or the director not being strong enough to go, no, this is the way I want it.
Well, you think if anyone's going to be like Ridley Scott will tell most people, fuck off.
Yeah.
Don't know why he's Australian. Fuck off. You want me to make an alien film? Fuck off. And I think
it's only 3 hours. Make it 4.
I'm intrigued.
Crikey.
G'day, mate. That's not a knife. That's a knife. I'm intrigued. And I'm not, because I really thought, a lot of people did think we might have had our first glimpse by now of the new Alien movie. Isn't it Fred? I can never say it.
Freddy Alvarez.
Alvarez, the director of the Evil Dead reboot, which I don't like.
I love it.
It's just too nasty. And that's my worry about this new Alien movie. It's going to go down a really nasty, really visceral, gloopy way. I don't know. And it could be the film that proves...
Would you rather a xenomorph rom-com?
Yeah.
That's a good idea, isn't it?
When I don't know, when... I'm trying to think of 2 names for different xenomorphs.
You make my chest burst with love or something?
Just when Harry Met Sally, but with xenomorphs.
Yeah.
Boom. That's all I want. That's what I don't know. I'm wondering... I'm going to stand to be correct. This could be my hot take, where it actually turns to be an amazing film. And I know we're having the TV series as well, and I think both the movie and the series have said, look, we're going to ignore the events of what Ridley Scott tried to do. Because I hope there's someone out there who decides it probably is not going to be with a movie, but graphic novel, cartoon, comic series finishes Ridley Scott's story in the fact that poor old Catherine Waterston, not Ferguson, Catherine Waterston, she's left in a pretty bad way at the end of Alien Covenant. And it's an intriguing idea where they're going to go. I do come back to my big argument, my big flaw, I think, was Prometheus, that they should have just done it would have been simple, is the fact that Prometheus, the planet where they're on, all that stuff happens, and then you have at the very end that weird, really weird looking xenomorph, that fuck you by Ridley going, oh, you want an alien film? There you go.
Yeah.
There's that thing there after that weird oversized squiddly diddly shows up. And the thing that confused it all was Ridley then saying, oh, isn't it LV-426? I think they have to go to. And he's like, no, it's a different planet.
Yeah.
And you're like, would it not been simpler? Because you have then, what's the actress in Prometheus? Naomi Rapace.
Yeah.
You have Naomi Rapace giving off that message to say, oh, this is me. I forget the name of her character. I'm going off to do the engineers. Well, not do the engineers, but find the engineers.
What's happening?
And would it not have made more sense for that then to be the message that the Nostromo picks up all those years ago, and then you can go off, you can do your Covenant thing.
Yeah.
It's not worrying about any people, oh, it's canon and what's happening. And there's people getting annoyed primarily because they think that what Ridley Scott is doing, he's claiming ownership of the Alien franchise and kind of ignoring aliens and the idea of the alien queen. And he said, well, there's no alien queen here. It's David, the android, the paranoid android, has created these xenomorphs as a weapon to destroy humanity. I don't know. I like it more than others.
Yeah.
I genuinely, and I like both films more than others. I do like the film more than others. That was two of the films I watched. Weirdly, I think we were talking about this because I know last week my lovely wife and I had watched Never Been Kissed, but she doesn't remember watching it. I want to say right now, I did not roofie her. I didn't want to make that clear. She just couldn't remember. But we watched Save the Last Dance. I haven't seen it in a while, and I remember going to see it on a date, and I made the foolish mistake of making that point as we watched it. Say, oh yeah, I remember going to see this with a date. It didn't work out between us, and Amber's like, yeah, no, it didn't, because you're married to me. And you're like, well, I didn't know you then, but I don't like it as much as I remember. I think
very 90s, is it? Was it 90s?
It's very 90s. Got a very 90s score. A lot of Fat Man Scoop in it. Brought me back to memories. Brought me back to memories of going to Thompson's back in the day. But
with Marcus Rashford.
Yeah, me and Marcus partying all night. And I say, Marcus, you better get your plane, mate. Oh, fuck, you've slept in.
No, I'm away to Devonish.
Yeah. Ding, ding, ding. We have got through nearly an hour without referencing the Devonish. And just for clarity, listeners, it was Brian Mulholland, our guest this week, who brought it up. But
now Willie Talk is on the table.
Willie
Let's go.
Talk's there. But I actually think, doing the way you kind of, when you remember movies, sometimes you smoosh them together.
Yeah.
When it's an actress in a similar-ish role, I think it, when I've been thinking about Save the Last Dance, a lot of the times I've actually been talking about 10 Things I Hate About You, because I watched two of them recently, and 10 Things I Hate About You is such a good film.
Mm.
It stands the test of time, and because there's sequences like I was saying to Amber and Save the Last Dance, oh yeah, isn't there a bit where she goes to a party and she gets really drunk and she gets up and dances on the table? And Amber's like, no, that was in 10 Things I Hate About You. I said, oh yeah. And then Heath Ledger shows up. She's like, no, I didn't say that. But no, really. But and then I know we're going to come to you, Brian, in just a second. The last film I'll throw up that I went to see in the cinema was Wicked Little Letters. Olivia Colman, Jesse Buckley.
Yes.
Olivia Colman, Jesse Buckley. I said it on the TV show, so if you want to see an in-depth review, cookie cutter of a movie, bit lightweight and fluffy in what it's trying to do, but loads of heavy themes and kind of things about gender politics at the time. We think of the suffragette movement.
Right.
Now, in the world we depressingly live in now of online trolling, ever present, I think of the world now of online trolling, all those ideas there and these little letters that are being sent to people around this little town in England saying very naughty words.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I actually got, I'm hoping they've bleeped it. We actually got to bleep and swear for the first time on the NBTV show.
Oh my goodness.
Because I said, look, I'm just going to read out, there's gobshite is in there. Arse, there's a bit of shit, cursing, all that kind of stuff.
Effing and jeffing.
And you will always, Olivia Colman, always worth the price of a cinema ticket.
Yeah.
And Jessie Buckley, I love. I think she's a great, I can't remember the name of the film, apologies listeners off the top of my head, where she played an aspiring country western singer in Glasgow and she wants to start a life. Apologies, just Google Jessie Buckley, search it that way. Fantastic film. She does a great cover of Country Girl. And Adam, just off air there, you said to me the name of the film is Wild Rose.
Yes.
So there we go. So Brian, now we come to you. You've listened to us. We said at the start, I know one of the films you've seen in the cinema recently was Madam Web. You can rant about that now if you so wish, or anything else you've watched.
I think the less airtime given to Madam Web, the better. Mrs. What do you call it?
Mrs. Web.
Mrs. Web. Yeah.
But don't be too harsh. Her mum went to Peru and got killed.
It sure happens to the best of us, doesn't it?
Well, she was searching spiders on the Amazon.
Yeah.
Oh, it's really hard to find. There's one.
Taxi to Peru, please. I Zone of Interest I've seen recently, as we talked about, and Anatomy of a Fall, which I'm trying to...
There's a Sandra Hüller double bill and a half.
Yeah, what an actress. I'm trying to kind of watch as many Oscar-nominated films for Best Picture, because I never usually get the time, so I'm like, whoa. And just weirdly, I'd seen, obviously, Oppenheimer and Barbie, and I'm like, I'll try and chip away at the other ones. Holdovers is next. I haven't seen that yet, but But because on your lovely your lovely jingle, you mentioned small screen as well.
Mhm.
So I've just finished, me and the wife, True Detective, Night Country.
Hoping you liked it.
I did. Have you finished it? No.
Mhm.
I thought the ending was really disappointing.
Really, I thought
Yeah.
the ending was quite clever in the sense that it wraps everything up and then leaves one question deliberately hanging, in that sense of the great David Lynch would say, not everything needs to be explained.
No, not at all. But I just don't think it was a fulfilling ending for the questions it was asking throughout, because I thought the performances were great.
Do you want it to be ghosty ghosts?
Honestly, if you could show me, I would take the ghosty ghost stuff out of it. If you think season 1, incredible television, hints at that, you never really know, you know. And then it's explained that it isn't ghosty ghost. It's just people are mad, you know, and they all get together and do mad stuff. And this one is kind of it's trying to have foot in both camps, and I just I kind of came away from it. It was a wee bit of a Hollywood wrap up ending for me, to be honest.
But
with
I am intrigued because Issa Lopez is coming back as showrunner on the next series.
Hi, Issa.
Yeah, hi, Issa.
We always shout out Issa every week.
Every week, because I got to interview her once and I fell in love with her a little bit.
Oh, right, okay.
And many years ago for Tigers Are Not Afraid, which if you've never seen, recommend seeking out.
I think you mentioned that.
It's on Shutters. I feel like I have a card somewhere where I go, if you like horror and anything, it's like, there, watch Tigers Are Not
That's
Afraid.
your one.
If you like Guillermo del Toro. Because this is why, I'm sorry, Issa, if you're listening, because I stayed in touch with her, because she's mates with Guillermo del Toro.
Yes.
So I'm kind of hoping that maybe through proxy, I can become a friend with Guillermo del Toro and then just annoy the fuck out of him, going, what do you think when you're making this film? Tell me more about Pan's Labyrinth.
Yeah. Well, he was involved with a lot of the, well, not creature effects, but a lot of the effects in that movie. Didn't he? Is that, can we spoil it? It's in the first episode, the frozen bodies, basically.
Frozen bodies, not in a nice way. Frozen popsicles.
No, not in a nice way.
Well, one of them is not a popsicle.
One of them isn't. No. That's why Mum went to Iceland.
Yeah. So there we go. So, mixed bag. Anything else you want to throw out at this point?
No, just basically just those three things have been. I try to watch as much as I can, but I have a 5-year-old, so there's been a lot of Bluey and Sonic and Spider-Man in my watching. Yeah.
So is this like the classic Spider-Man cartoon? Because we talked about this recently on the podcast.
He watches them all. So there's Spidey and His Amazing Friends, which is kind of BBC one. But I'm working him away. I'm working him through. He calls original Spider-Man Stan Lee Spider-Man because that's Stan Lee Spider-Man. I'm like, oh, okay, we'll go with that. And then he knows all the actors and stuff. So we're trying to work our way through the movies as well.
Yeah, you've
Spider-Man is life. Jim.
You've taught him well. You've taught him well. But here, hang on, guys. I think I see just someone walking. Hang on, Marty. What? Hang on, guys. Sorry, 2 seconds. Marty, hang on.
Now, for people that don't know, and Brian, you might not know yourself,
Marty,
that
coming in? Come on in. Oh, what about you? Come on, what the fuck? You're not doing your little podcasting. Marty, come on in. Come on, sit down, son. Come on. Sit down, Marty. Oh, Jesus,
we have a...
Don't like to disturb you now when you're doing this.
We have a special guest. Obviously, you won't recognise him because although Jim is calling him Martin Scorsese, this is not the Martin Scorsese. This is...
well, I'm the Martin Scorsese of the King of Castle Street, King of Meat in the Street.
Marty, we're close friends. I'm just, for the audience.
All right, well, I don't like to disturb you, but I was just walking past there because you record here near Castle Street, and well, I was just back there from talking to Bobby D and we Pesci, sitting behind me in the counter there.
How's Shazzy?
Well, don't you say a wee word about Shazzy. We Shazzy Shankle. Some pup, I'll tell you. Some pup, that girl. Marty, what? Marty, it's a really important thing we forgot to do, because this is your thing. I know you're just here accidentally, completely. I'm here, by accidentally here. What are you talking about now, Jim? These two lads here, they want to get home and get their supper. By the way, lads, if you want to come round the shop, I'll give you a couple of wee half-pound of sausages each. Aye, but Marty, we have a thing where we have a little theme tune for you. Oh, aye, that's right. Aye. So, Marty, just got to do this now. And then, I know you're angry about something. Aye, don't you fucking get me stressed. Marty, hang on. Anyway, right.
Marty.
Why you look so sad? It's not so bad. Shut up your face.
That wee bastard tell me to shut up my face. Anyway, lads, while I've got you here. So, wee Bobby D, he's not a happy man in the shop.
Why's that?
He's not a happy man to shop at all. Hi. He's just back from Scotland. Back from Scotland. He took the wee lad, wee Timothée Chalamet. Took him over to Scotland there for a couple of days. They were away watching the football. I don't know, Rangers or Celtic. I leave that to old Bobby. You know, I don't get into old politics. But they were saying they were over in Scotland. And you know the way Timothée, he loves the old chocolate.
Aye.
You know the way he loves chocolate, that he loves that old Willy Wanker fella.
That's right.
Well, the wee lad, he had seen somewhere on the old YouTube or the old social Facebook, something, whatever it is, he had seen that there was a wee Charlie in the Chocolate Factory experience going on about.
Oh, that sounds nice.
I said to myself, that's just the very thing for that wee Timothée. He'd love that, you know, going through there and, you know, he'd get to see him them on Loopy Loompies kind of fellas and all that stuff. Well, they went and paid it, and I think, let me just see, I can't remember how much Bobby D. I think Bobby D. said he paid nearly 80 quid, 80 pound. You think the amount of meat you could get for 70, 80 pound? And so I don't know what's going on in my accent here, but you think the amount of meat in these days you could get for 70, 80 quid. And Jesus, the pair of them said it was the biggest pile of shite ever heard. And Bobby D, he's in the back of the shop there, fuming. He won't even come out and work because he won't even talk to customers. He's sitting counting every bit of money. He said that could have bought me a good football jersey. But instead of wasting my money on this, and wee Timothée, he's very sad. So, fuck it. It's just do you know what, lads? It's getting me so annoyed. I think I need to go back to the shop. Anyway. Right. So anyway, lads, as always, been a fucking pleasure talking to you. Adam, good to see you again. And Brian, nice to meet you for the first time here.
Nice to meet you, Marty.
All right, Marty, do we walk you out? Aye. When you walk me out, son. Right, okay, no bother. Right.
Cheers, Marty.
Bye,
Good to see you.
See you later, Marty.
What was that smell, Adam?
That's a lot of pork chops.
Pork chops? Is that the smell?
Sorry, lads. I just had to let Marty back there. You know, I don't know. Do you have any idea what he's getting angry about?
Was he maybe at the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory event in it's not really a mystery. Was he at the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory event in Glasgow?
That must be it.
That must be it.
That must be it. You know, and he's way out the window there. I'll just wave at him.
Hey, Marty.
Bye, Marty. He's way back in the shop. He's an angry man, that Marty Scorsese. Not the Marty Scorsese, but a Marty Scorsese. But equally, like the great Marty Scorsese, he does love his movies, that lad.
Oh, does he?
He loves his movies.
Butcher Boy and stuff
Not
like
the
that.
comic book nonsense now.
Oh, he doesn't like that.
Yeah. Anyway, so I thought that was a nice wee interlude there. Just, you know, I like to see him when he's coming past there because, you know, he's sometimes walking around here in Castle Street and just nice to get chatting to Marty anyway.
And he always has a horror story for us.
He always has a horror story, and this brings us nicely to how we're going to wrap up this pod. So another new feature that we're trialing, we're not sure if it's a pod. Sorry, we're not sure yet, Brian, if it's a feature the nation's talking about.
Okay.
As I said earlier, we don't know which nation, but a nation. They're talking about Back in Black. People are definitely talking about What's the Matter, Marty.
There's definitely been words.
There's been
definitely been
there's
words.
Been traction, has there?
Definitely been words uttered. But we are trying this new pod feature where we're having cinematic horror stories.
Yes.
Now, in the first week, we had Jim McMorrow telling us about a couple that were getting a very excited and a bit amorous during the screening of The Exorcist Believer. You might know this story because you and I both know Jim McMorrow. And I thought we would change it up a wee bit. And since we have you in the studio, normally get listeners, get them a chance. I know James Stafford, you know, from Talking Codswallop Pod, he messaged in weeks ago with a cinematic horror story. We just haven't got round to it. So, James, if you're listening this far, next week.
Tender hooks, James. Tender hooks.
Next week, James. But I thought, since we had you in the studio, Brian, I thought we would see if you had a great cinematic horror story for us.
Yes.
And what we're going to do now, just to change it up a little bit, because we love our little jingles here, and I don't like putting all the pressure on Adam. But I think what we'll do now is we're going to hear your story, and then Adam and I will decide if it's worthy of this.
Jesus, that's awful.
So there you go. So this is it. So this is your big chance now, Brian. You've talked about Film Devour.
That's what I'm aiming for then.
No cinematic horror stories, because there would be none from Film Devour.
No, thankfully this isn't one.
None of the stories from that. So, Brian, this is your opportunity. Take it away.
Okay. So many beards ago, I used to work in the Odeon Some people pronounce it different. The audience cinemas. So I was a manager there, like a duty manager there, and it was my last. This is honestly the truth. It was my last night, and it was the screen had got out, and I was going in to clean it. Right. I thought I would, because
you
it was
told everybody to get out.
Yeah. Basically, movie ended, and I thought I would go in and help the ushers clean the screen. And it was kind of melancholy. Oh my goodness, this is the last time I'm ever going to do this. So sweeping away, and if you've ever seen someone in the cinema, you got those scoopers, that brush and shovel type thing that you can scoop things off the ground. So I make my way up to the back row, and there's something that just can't quite scoop up. I'm like, what is it? And I nearly bent down to pick it up, but I've made many good decisions in my life, and that was one of them. I'll persevere with the brush, I thought. And I brushed it up, and I'm like, what is that? And I lifted the shovel up to myself, and it was a filled condom with a little knot tied in the end of it.
What was it filled with?
Filled with DNA.
Ah, I see.
What the fuck is it about people in Belfast? All this riding in cinemas?
Yes. But I thought, well, that's nice of them. They tied it in the end. They didn't fucking dispose of it. They just kind of tied it and kept it there for me. But absolutely disgusting. And I thought, I'm making a right decision to move away from the cinema. I'll give you 100 guesses what the movie was, and you will never get it. And I'm not going to kink shame anyone. So there are two things have happened. They haven't enjoyed the movie, and when I'm just going to fill this prophylactic here, or they really enjoyed the movie.
Prophylactic? What a big word.
That is a big word.
Can you give me the year?
Oh, what year would it be?
Watch my autism brain work.
I wish I had memorized them.
Do you know what I'm picturing in my head now? Is it The Hangover when they start counting the cards?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it shows all the numbers on the screen. I can see that now with Adam.
I don't know. I think it's 7 or 8 years ago. Easy. Maybe more. Because as I say, it's a long time ago. I'll give you the actor.
Huh.
Right. Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds. Now, what's a cum-worthy Ryan Reynolds movie?
What isn't?
When you see that big lad's face in front of you? I am going to say 7 or 8 years ago.
Maybe more.
I'm going to go with the obvious one. I'm going to go Deadpool.
No.
I'm going to say The Change-Up.
No.
Bollocks.
Will I just tell you?
Do you want another guess? I can't think of that many Ryan Gosling. Not Ryan Gosling. I can't think of that many Ryan Reynolds films.
It's very much a vehicle for him. Not that there's a vehicle in it.
Oh.
He's on screen a lot.
Ryan Reynolds. I'm
going to throw one out because I don't even know if it got released cinematically. Voices?
No.
It's
a good film.
I actually don't know.
Nope. I'll tell you. Buried. Do you remember the movie where it's him basically in a box with a lighter or a mobile phone for an hour and a half?
In fairness, I can imagine. Here, love, this is fucking intense. Here, how can I need to be relaxed. This is fucking intense, and just be like, fancy a ride? But
right. I would assume if you were going to do something like that, not that I ever would, you'd want to go in like a big loud film like Transformers, so nobody could hear you. You know, because I like to say my own name a lot when I'm doing it, so I don't want anyone else to be turning around going, "What's going on there?" You know,
so you say
it's a quiet movie.
So when you say your own name, is that like, "Oh, Brian, you're awesome"? Brian, you're really good.
Always in the third person. Yeah.
Brian, you're great at riding.
Yeah, but your class.
But what if
As hot as that?
What if he was like, "Is this about being buried in a box?" And he was like, "I don't mind if I do."
Yeah, not the kink shame, but they may have been like, "Yep, that's the one for me." So that was my parting gift from working in the cinema.
I think that's Adam. Do you think that's worthy?
Yes.
Jesus, that's awful.
So there you go. There we go. That's our second one. You know, I feel at this stage, because we didn't give Jim McMorrow that opportunity, I think Jim's story about a couple behind him having sex during The Exorcist Believer is also worthy of a Jesus, that's awful. So we'll just clarify that. And if you have a cinematic horror story, get in touch. And I always say this, I think it doesn't have to always be sexual. It just is. We've done two. It
seems to be, doesn't it?
People, cinema goers in Belfast seem to like going to cinema and having a ride.
Yeah.
Never happened to me.
No.
Never happened to me.
Yet.
Yes. Adam's been very quiet at this point.
We're seeing Down the Night, boy.
You want to see The Big Worm? No, I've seen The Devonish last week. Yep. Anyway.
Maybe that popcorn bucket.
So
you on.
I think we've talked for nearly an hour and a half I think we shall wrap up the pod. And I know, Adam, you've got a little disappointed face because you have some listener questions.
We'll have one, Jim. Go.
Okay, all right, we'll have one.
Just as Brian's here.
Yeah.
If you had to pick a cinematic universe to be a part of, which and why?
Ooh.
Lego.
Pixar.
Oh, fuck. Well, I think Star Wars.
Star Wars?
Spaceships?
Yeah, that's true. I'm going to be in the Lego universe because then you can just, everything is awesome.
Yeah, that's true.
And if I want to build a spaceship, I can.
And I suppose if it's Pixar, you'd just cry a lot, wouldn't you?
But which universe? Like which film?
I would assume they all exist in the same universe. That's what I'm going for here. But
you're hoping for anyway?
That's what I'm hoping for.
Because you'd be fucked off if you signed that deal and all happened. Then you ended up in like the last dinosaur universe. That was it.
Yeah, that's true.
Or you start turning into a car.
Yeah.
I've changed my mind.
Oh,
all right.
I want to go to the Mission Impossible universe. And or the Transporter. What was the movie? There's the handover with Tom and Jason Statham. They meet at the airport. Is it? Oh my goodness, Mega Man.
Collateral?
Jimmy Collateral.
Yeah.
So that's kind of partly loosely in the Transporter universe.
You want to be held captive in a taxi?
Just want to ride around with Tom, basically. Yeah.
Who wouldn't? Actually, that's another film I watched this week that I had forgotten about. And just when because I actually said I will mention Mission Impossible because Brian's going to be on the show, and Brian is the biggest person I know that loves. He's the biggest fan anyway I know of Tom Cruise. He introduced me to the Light the Fuse pod, which I love, and I rewatched that. On the small screen, because unfortunately got to see it in the IMAX. I think you and I went to see it, didn't we?
Yes.
Yeah, we got to see it at the IMAX. Loved it. And then I always intended to go back, but then it got pulled because Oppenheimer was out and I never got to see it on the big IMAX screen. Watch it at home with my mum. She hadn't seen it before, and it was just great because my mum's that person that like shouts at the television. Goes, Waker! Oh, brilliant! Like, a bit like you. I know we are wrapping up. Do you want to very quickly tell your story about Mission Impossible and Tom?
Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, I believe. It's the one where he scales the Burj Khalifa or something, the large building.
Wasn't the Europa anyway?
Yeah, it wasn't Europa. It's a wee bit bigger in Europa. Yeah, the tallest building in.
Just a wee bit.
Yeah.
There's a meter in it.
Yes, just a few seagulls in it. But yeah, so he's claiming this, and I felt myself kind of moving closer and closer to the screen. And there's a bit with the gloves. One of them kind of. And he slips a bit, and I audibly said, in the cinema, "Careful, Tom." Not careful, Ethan. Oh, careful, Tom. And my mate was there just bust out laughing. I'm like, I was really into it. It was just, that's the power of cinema. I don't know.
I love that story. I love that. Anyway, yes, I rewatched Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning Part 1. And yeah, I just forgot. Because I said at the time, I don't think it's as good as Fallout. Second or third viewing, I'm starting to think it's maybe on a par.
Yeah.
It doesn't have Henry Cavill with the bit where he flexes the guns.
No.
And that's the bit that I just love in Fallout. Don't ask me why. It's the bit in the toilet scene where they're fighting and he just does the thing with the muscles and you're like, oh my God, Henry Cavill, this is the most charismatic I've ever seen him. And but Dead Reckoning, you obviously have seen Dead Reckoning.
Yeah. Good. I don't know.
All right, way to end the pod on a fucking bomb note, mate.
I just felt like, I don't know, I was a bit not disappointed with it, but I kind of, because it was part 1, I was kind of going into it being like, I'm not
do you know what, though?
Get an end in there.
Do you know what? I actually think of those kind of part 1, part 2 movies, and I think it's not my point to make, I think it might have been Helen O'Hara, of those split films, it actually manages to do the split quite well in the sense that, yes, the story continues.
Yeah.
But that arc of that story is now round up. It doesn't feel like, right, you've just literally, it doesn't feel like you've stopped the movie and you're going to have to wait 2-3 years or like a year in the case of stuff like the Hunger Games Part 1 and 2, the Twilight movies when they do the
Last Spider-Verse movie.
Yeah.
You're kind of, okay. Yeah,
don't talk to me. That was a frustrating moment when it was like, oh yeah, fuck, I forgot. It's like literally when it was ending.
You realise there's another movie coming.
And then you're like, fuck, I forgot about that.
Try explaining to a 5-year-old. What's happening now? And I'm like, well, what's happening now is you're going to be 6, maybe nearly 7, and we're going to have to come back to the cinema and watch it all over again. Great.
Anyway, so we saved it. We didn't let you finish the pod on a bum note, Adam.
I liked it. I like Shea Wiggum.
It's all right.
It started with Neeson's bum, and now it's ended on a bum note. So.
Adam's arse.
Adam's arse.
New segment.
From Big Liam's arse to Adam's arse. So yeah, I think that brings this pod to a close. So first and foremost, Brian, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the
Jim,
pod.
and thank you for all your continuing help. Sorry to interrupt your end there, but thank you.
Not a problem.
To
Devour
the whole
does
team.
not need it. We are only there to kind of showcase something that deserves to be showcased. And I suppose, even though we just thought Mission Impossible was all right, thank you very much, Adam Neeson.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you, Brian, for being our first guest.
Yeah, for being the guest in the new format. Thank you for the people who've got in touch. I know, Adam, as you said, there are other people who have questions, smessions, but somebody has that trademarked. We will come back to those on a later pod. So that's all for now. Next week, we're going to be talking about June Part 2. And you've that to look forward to. And I suppose in a couple of weeks, we'll be talking about the new Ghostbusters movie as well. And with loads of other things lined up as well. So if you want to find the back catalogue, be sure to check out our website, wherever you get your podcasting fix. Find some weird stickers posted around Belfast. I want to clarify, it's purely coincidental in terms of Brian's story earlier on, that a lot of them are stuck onto condom machines. That's just because when you go into men's toilets, because I don't feel brave enough to go into the ladies' toilets, it's the natural place you want to stick a sticker.
It's not really brave enough. You're not allowed. You can't brazen your way, be like, sorry, love, 2024, suck it up.
I just don't feel brave enough anyway. So it's purely coincidental that a lot of the stickers for the More Than Pixels on a Screen podcast, which were done up by your lovely self, Adam.
If the police are listening, no, they weren't.
Just revert to your Uncle Liam. Your Uncle Liam did it.
Liam Neeson was in town and was sticking stickers up.
Yeah,
Scandalous boy.
There we go.
Textbook Liam.
Yeah, there we go. So that's enough. So if you find those, check it out. Maybe if that's how you find this pod, happy days. But as I say, be sure to check out our back catalogue on the website. There's also the TV show. At some point, I'm sure we will start writing stuff again on the website. Some point. It's down the line. But let's get the pod back up and running first. So yes, that's all from us this week. But for now, all I've got left to say is goodbye.